Hey guys, it's Raul again, and today I'm doing my June wrap-up. So these are all of the books that I read in the month of June. I completed 6 books and then started 2 other books. So yeah, I will touch on the other books briefly, but let's just go ahead and get started on this. So the first book that I completed in the month of June was Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. And this is a book that follows this kind of traveling theater group before and after this kind of apocalyptic event that happens where the sickness kind of overtakes the world and a whole bunch of people die, and it follows kind of their stories and their lives before and after this event. So I don't really want to get into too much detail after that, but just know that this is kind of the basic premise of it. It's definitely a very beautifully written story. I read this one, or listened to this one on audiobook, and for the most part, I was able to follow along really well, but I tend to kind of like fade in and out of audiobooks because I usually listen to them either in the car while I'm driving or at home when I'm kind of like doing things around the house. So I tend to kind of fade in and out sometimes of audiobooks, so it took me a little while to kind of get into this one, but it was mostly because I was listening to it on audiobook. Like, this is definitely a book that as soon as I finished listening to it, I needed to get a physical copy because I want to be able to reread this one in physical form and kind of really grasp everything that's going on. I enjoyed the parts that I was able to kind of really focus on and really get into, and once kind of I understood who the characters were and what was going on, I ended up absolutely loving this. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars because, like I said, I was a little lost, but it's mainly because of the format that I chose to read this book in. But other than that, it was fantastic. The storylines, the characters, and the development and everything going on within them was just amazing. I mean, a lot of people on BookTube have talked about this book and have loved it, and now I see why, because it was a fantastic, fantastic book. It was different than a lot of kind of dystopian type books. This one was just awesome, beautifully written. The story, everything was just great, great, great about this. So if you haven't picked up Station 11 and you're kind of hesitant about it, definitely pick it up, definitely give it a try. It's definitely a different kind of dystopian novel that I absolutely loved. The second book that I completed in the month of June was Pandemonium by Lauren Oliver. This is the second book in the Delirium series. Now this one continues on after the events of the first one, kind of a couple months later, and this one has a different formatting from the first book. As to, in the first book, you kind of just follow, you know, regular storyline, and everything is kind of like narrated from beginning to end. This one jumps every chapter from before and after, so she kind of skips to the present and then goes back into the past. So every chapter has either the past storyline that she's telling you about or the present storyline that she's telling you about, and kind of eventually they both end up kind of meeting at the end, and it continues on from there. So I enjoyed really the formatting that was going on. I, for some reason, enjoyed more the present tense than the past tense, than the things that were kind of going on right after the events of the first book. So I enjoyed the kind of futuristic things, the story, and kind of where she was in the future versus the past. But I really enjoyed this one. As usual, I love Lauren Oliver's writing. I loved the characters and kind of this story. It's, for me, I don't know, it's just, it feels generic, but I'm loving it the way it's written. I'm loving kind of what's going on within this world and everything. So I've been really enjoying the series. I ended up giving this one a 4 out of 5 stars because I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one. There were a couple of things in here that I don't want to ruin, because if not, I'll ruin the first book for you. That I don't know, I just felt that I wasn't really loving kind of some of the newer characters that were introduced and kind of the love interest that was going on within it. But other than that, I really, really enjoyed this story. And at the end of this one, it left you kind of on a cliffhanger that really, really kind of kept me intrigued on continuing on with this series. Now, halfway through the month was Tome Topple, which was hosted by Sam from Thoughts on Tomes. And it is basically a readathon where we pick up large books that we've had sitting on our shelves for a while that we've kind of been intimidating to pick up. So books that are over 500 pages, and we just spend 2 weeks kind of reading those books. So the first week that I was doing Tome Topple, I ended up picking up Dance with Dragons by George R. R. Martin. I did not finish this one. I only got about 200 pages or so in it, and 200 pages into this book made nothing. I mean, I wasn't really making much progress on this one. This book I started reading the week of our wedding anniversary. My wife got me a Nintendo 3DS, so I was really paying a lot of attention on that and playing Pokemon and stuff. So I wasn't able to dedicate too much time on this one. I felt like I was making really slow progress. And after I started reading this one, I kind of realized how slow usually George R. R. Martin books are, and somehow how it tends to kind of drag in a lot of different parts. So I was getting a little bored with this one. I wasn't really, I don't know, I feel like the show right now is so much more ahead than the books, and I've been spoiled for so many things, for so many of the deaths, so many of the storylines going on, and I know they changed things in the book, but for the most part, they kind of stick to it, so I've been spoiled for some things, and maybe that's why I haven't had that much motivation to continue on with the series. I don't know, but this was getting me slumpy, so I had to put it down after the first week or so. I don't know if I'm going to continue on with the series or not. I'm still on the fence. I want to, because it's been on my shelf for so long, but at the same time, I've been spoiled for so much that I don't know if I'm in the mood for it anymore, so we will see what happens with this one. So because I was failing miserably the first week of Tome Topple, for the second week of Tome Topple, I ended up picking up Rebel Angels by Libel Bray. This is the second book in the Gemma Doyle series, and this one I really, really enjoyed. I think I gave this one a 4.5 stars. This one continues on the kind of story of Gemma Doyle. For those of you who don't know, Gemma Doyle is a kind of witch who gets sent to this boarding school and meets these other girls there, and they become kind of this group or this coven of witches that can kind of travel to this alternate world, and a lot of things happen within the first book, and this one continues on kind of their winter break. So they're on winter break from school and go out to, I believe it's London, and kind of these things that kind of ensue within London, these mysteries kind of that are happening, this new teacher that starts working at the school, and kind of the mystery revolving around this new teacher. So I really, really enjoyed this one. I enjoyed kind of the characters. I know there are a lot of problematic things within this one that I just, like, it irked me a little bit for this book, because there is some kind of, there's some victim blaming in here, there's some rape or child molestation in there also that was kind of just like really brushed over and not really dealt upon. It was really, really brushed over. So, I don't know, I felt a little bit uneasy that such a heavy topic like that would have just been brushed over, like, oh, my dad raped me, okay, let's move on. Like, that's basically what happened. So, yeah, that bothered me a little bit. So I think that's what kept me from giving this a full 5 stars. Was just some of these heavier topics were kind of just really brushed over. But other than that, the plot itself and kind of the story and everything going on within it was really enjoyable and really fun, and I really enjoyed this second installment in this one. I don't know when I'm going to pick up the third one. I just got it from Amazon, but it is over 800 pages, so I don't know if I'm in the mood to get into such a huge book right after Tome Topple, because I did read some pretty big books this month. But yeah, this one was okay, it was decent. It was a nice sequel to the first one. Then after that, I ended up rereading Beautiful Creatures by Kay McGarcy and Margaret Stahl. I listened to this one mostly on audiobook. I flipped between the audio and the physical form kind of to move things along a little bit quicker. But I read this book, I want to say like 3 or 4 years ago. It was a long time ago. And I remembered most of the things going on, but I just recently purchased the box set for this series and wanted to continue on with the series. But I wanted to reread the first one to kind of freshen up on things and realize that afterwards that there was a lot of stuff that I actually did forget about it. So I'm kind of glad I reread this one. I enjoyed it probably just as much as I did the first time. I really enjoyed the main character, Ethan, who we get his perspective. Usually when we have like paranormal kind of romances like this, it's always in the girl's perspective. So I liked the fact that it was the boy's perspective. And for those of you who don't know, Beautiful Creatures is about this boy named Ethan who kind of falls in love with this girl who's a caster. She's a witch. And, you know, just the things that kind of ensue. This Lena, who is the witch or the caster, has to kind of choose, or is being claimed at the age of 16, I believe it is, to either be a light or dark witch, and kind of the complications that ensue with falling in love with a person like this and kind of, you know, having to deal with all of these things. I really enjoyed it. I absolutely love this setting because it's set in the South and kind of the characters and everything that's going on. I really, really enjoyed this one. I ended up giving this one, again, a 4 out of 5 stars, I believe, or 4.5 or so. So, yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I'm ready to continue on with the second book. I picked it up on audiobook also because it's just easier for me to go through these on audio. So, yeah, I'm currently reading the second one, or started the second one on audio. So, yeah, we will see what happens. I haven't heard the greatest things about the rest of the series, but we'll see. I really enjoyed this first one, though. After that, I also did another reread, and that was Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor, and this one I enjoyed way more the second time around than I did the first time. This is about a girl named Carew who works for this guy, this creature, I would say, named Brimstone, and she goes to collect teeth for him, and this mystery surrounding kind of the collection of these teeth and the kind of mystery around Brimstone. She's known Brimstone for almost her entire life, and these creatures that kind of live with Brimstone also. So it's this mystery of where she came from, what her origins are, and everything. And she meets this angel that she kind of begins to fall for, and kind of more things kind of ensue through that. I don't want to say more about this one because I don't want to spoil it. I felt like this time around I was able to kind of understand it more. I don't know why I felt like I was so lost toward the end of it, but this time around I was able to really grasp it a little bit more, and I think that's probably why I enjoyed it way more this time around, because I understood kind of what was happening. I tend to get really distracted when reading YA. I don't know why. But like I said, I really loved it. I ended up bumping up my rating for this one from a 3 to 4 because I really enjoyed it, like I said. And I didn't want to continue on with this series the first time I read it because I was just so lost. And I wanted to kind of keep reading it because my wife has read the other books. But I wanted to reread this one to kind of give it another shot and see if I can really enjoy it before I continue on with the series. So I'm glad to say that I finally enjoyed this book, or I finally was able to enjoy this book, and will be continuing on with this series because I've been intrigued about it. It sounds pretty great. My wife raves about it, so I need to continue on with it, and now I will. So then after that, I read probably my favorite book this month and one of the best books that I've read this year, and that was The Red Umbrella by Cristina Diaz-Gonzalez. Now this one, I have filmed a full review on, I'll just link it down below, and this is a story about a girl and kind of her journey out of Cuba. So it takes place during 1961 when Fidel Castro kind of takes power over Cuba and kind of the rebellion starts, and like a lot of things kind of start to ensue within Cuba. So I'll give more of my details and everything about the historical background in the review, but this is kind of her and her brother's journey leaving Cuba, where her parents kind of are so scared of what's going on in Cuba and all of the different changes that are going on that they put their kids onto a plane and send them to the U.S. on their own. These were not the only kids that got sent to the U.S. There were 14,000 others who got sent to the U.S. in this kind of situation. And it's her story kind of before she leaves Cuba, how things are happening, how things begin to change in Cuba, and then her journey out to the U.S., and then her kind of getting adjusted to this new life, with her being kind of unsure if she's ever going to see her parents again. And yeah, it was an absolutely fantastic book. It was heartbreaking, but wonderful and beautiful, and I just absolutely love this. I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars because it was just amazing. And then the final book that I picked up within the month of June that I haven't finished but I'm currently reading and I'm almost done with it is Legacy of Kings by Eleanor Herman. This is a fantasy retelling of Alexander the Great with multiple perspective, multiple kind of intertwining storylines and everything that is just absolutely amazing. This is probably one of my favorite fantasy books that I've read this year. I'm loving this one. The writing is great, the characters, the storylines, the plot, it's just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I'm so intrigued on this one. I'm almost 300 pages in, so I'm really excited to finish this one within the next day or two, and I'll probably be posting a review just on this one alone because I did win this one as part of a Goodreads contest, so I do have to review it. I do have to post a review on Goodreads about it, but I am absolutely loving this one so far. It is fantastic. More of my thoughts and everything, hopefully for that review. So yeah, just pick this one up, guys, because so far it is awesome. So yeah, guys, that is it for all of the books that I read and started in the month of June. Let me know down below what you guys read this month, if you guys have read any of these books, what you guys thought of it, and all of that kind of fun stuff. And yeah, thank you guys all for watching. I will see you guys all next time.